In this video, I'll take you through how I made this fairly quick and simple LED lamp. Without further ado, let's get started. I started things off with a cut section of Meranti hardwood for the base, and made a 2D template for cutting out and shaping the piece. I cut out the paper template and stuck it to the piece with the aid of some spray glue. And with that in place, I got started on shaping the workpiece. I used a jigsaw to follow the outline of the main shape. Not bad, but it needed a little extra work. So I decided to use progressive sandpaper grits to smooth things out. I used 40 grit to help out with some minor reshaping, and then 120 and 180 grits to smooth things off. Next up, I drilled a pilot hole in the centre of the marked circles. This would be for a 60mm hole saw, which I used to create a neat circular edge around the outline. With that in place, I used a router to create a recess for fitting the Perspex tube later on. To replicate the inner circle from the paper template, I used a spade bit to create a circular 32mm outline and took it back to the router to create another recess, this time for the aluminium tube in the middle. All that was left to do with the workpiece was drill a 20mm hole for the power switch and create a channel on the underside for the power wires. A coat of clear gloss finish was then applied across the surface and around the edges. Now moving on to the aluminium tube, I drilled a small hole at the bottom for the power wires, got started on adhering the LED strip to the outside of the tube, and soldered some wires for the power. I used hot glue to hold the aluminium tube in place, along with the power wires underneath. And shortly before that, I also soldered the power switch in place. And whilst doing so, I noticed that the pins in the switch were longer than the thickness of the base, so I used a couple of M20 washers to raise it up slightly. Now for the inside of the Perspex tube, I used cut sections of light diffusion and Fresnel sheets to disperse the light from the LEDs, and placed them inside the tube. And with that, I fitted the tube in place. And lastly, just to finish things off, I tidied up the power wires with some electrical tape and fitted a DC jack to the end. And there we have it, a quick and simple LED lamp. Thanks for watching.